Wake up, everybody. It is the DFS Tailgate. We hope you guys are up bright and early with us if you're on the West Coast. Coming in around noon here on the East Coast. I think we're about 11 o'clock on Central Time. This is the DFS Tailgate. If you guys are new to the show, I'm not your normal host, but I'm a regular here in Between Media, Seth Woolcock. But I am joined by our regular DFS expert, a guy who has helped people win money all season long, whether it be PGA or NFL, Conor Coughlin. Coughlin, how you doing this morning, bro?
I'm good, man. I love when you lead in with expert. You just set this bar so high.
Just to be let down in the end.
Yeah. Most importantly, in my bank account most weekends, but we'll try and win people some money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a gorgeous Saturday morning, honestly. I woke up today feeling like probably the most refreshed I have in a while. Ready, like there's so much coming to the fold here. We got DFS this weekend, Monkey Knife Fight, Underdog. I know a lot of people are playing in some different fantasy leagues as well in the playoffs, whether that be like fantasy playoff or champions round is doing a different draft as well. So there's a lot of different fun, unique, new things going on this weekend. And it is super wild card weekend. For the first time, the NFL has introduced these extra games, which I think is awesome. I'm all for these seven seeds each conference. What about you, Conor?
Yeah, I love it. And if man, if we could get football to go year round, I'd be all for it. So the longer the season, the better.
Yeah. It's been a wild one so far this season. We've been here covering redraft, dynasty, really all the outlets of fantasy football. Specifically on the tailgate, we do tackle DFS advice. Conor's going to come with some Draftkings advice towards the end of the show. We're going to kind of break down the slate for you, what you need to know before you set those lineups. We have a couple hours here. I think 4 p.m., 4:30, things kick off today. So I'm excited for that first Bengals-Raiders game. Conor, let's go ahead and get into our underdog stories, though. We're going to start it off. These are the pick'em parlays over Underdog Fantasy. If you guys have not tried Underdog Fantasy, there is really no better time to get involved with Underdog Fantasy. They have a lot of different sports they're offering right now. The pick'em parlays are one of the most fun, but they also offer best ball for next season, 2022. They're also offering some playoff best ball as well. So get in there before 4 p.m. Use that promo code IBT. You're going to get 100% match deposit up to $100. Guys, this is just smart economics over there, Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code IBT. Get in there, get playing with us, because every week, Conor, you and Bo, you guys are walking away with money. We want our audience to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And you guys are a little more savvy on the underdog side, and I try my best to give you some good plays over at Monkey Knife. So one way or another, we'll win you some money on some props.
Absolutely. Let's jump into it here. So Underdog Fantasy, here we are, pick'em parlays. I have 4 or 5, depending on the health of one player that you can stack here. They have great multipliers. Make sure you're taking advantage of that as well. Conor, I saw a meme the other day on Facebook, and it was a guy rather, spend his whole paycheck and take the over rather than swallow his pride and take an under. And I never realized how much I do love overs as a fantasy analyst trying to pick these over unders.
It's way more fun to root for somebody to excel rather than fail.
That's a great point. I never really thought about that. I scoured through the pick'em parlays, and I think there are a lot of good plays out there. I'm going to be honest, like this is one that you could stack for a 10-legger, and I think honestly have a chance at it. So keep that in mind. I have 5 here for you. I'm going to start out with my one under that I am very confident in, and that's Cam Akers. They have him at a lofty 31.5 rushing yards today on Underdog. He has not seen that volume quite yet. Sony Michel's ran very well as well so far. So I am just not comfortable with that 31.5 rushing yards number. I mean, yes, Cam Akers is an explosive running back. He only needs that one big burst, but I'm swallowing my pride here. I'm taking the under on Cam Akers.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. And I mean, like you said, we just don't know what we're going to get yet. And I still think that Michelle is going to be fairly involved too, even if they do put the pedal to the metal with Akers. So I tend to lean your way, and I would take the under as well.
Another one sticking with the running back position is Leonard Fournette. We're not 100% confident Leonard Fournette is going to play. He's going to be a game time decision, Bruce Arians said. So if he does play, he has a very, very nice option out there right now in Pick 'em Parlay, a 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdown for Leonard Fournette. So he just needs one touchdown, and you're clicking this off your box here. I think this is a pretty easy one too. We know who Playoff Lenny is. He's been this guy all season long. I mean, an absolute monster. Towards the back half of the season, I mean, he's had big touchdown games. I think with them trying to keep the ball away from Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady not having a ton of options outside of Mike Evans and Gronk in this one, I'm locking and loading Lenny here in Underdog and DraftKings and really anywhere I can get him if he's healthy.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I really think they're just going to run the living hell out of him. If he's healthy and ready to go, I think we see a lot of Lenny going on. So he's actually probably, him and Mixon are probably my two locks at running back. I'm just kind of crossing my fingers that Fournette's ready to go.
I think he will be too, because the injury looked pretty tough a couple weeks ago when he sustained that in that one just awful game for the Buccaneers week 15. But I think he'll be ready to go. And let's be honest here, Connor, whether you're playing season long dynasty, whatever, like I just don't think Ronald Jones, like everyone wants to make Ronald Jones out to be this spectacular running back, but he's had opportunities and he's, fumbled the bag away. So, I'm just over the whole Rojo conversation. I mean, this has gone way too long at this point.
Yeah, with Rojo, I think the problem is especially in the DFS space, randomly you get these like Cinderella story games out of Rojo where he breaks the slate and wins you a ton of money, and I think people, people latch onto that stuff. Lenny's just a far more consistent, gets you far more consistent results, and so why we're trying to make Rojo a thing, just go with Lenny, do what he does, pound the ground, let's go.
If he has another great postseason too, because he's still on a 1-year deal, like this is another prove it year for him, and he's been spectacular. So like him and James Conner out there securing the bag for them. So good to see that. The one, there was a lot of quarterback lines out there this week that I wasn't sure about. I was going through them. Like Derek Carr had an intriguing one that I thought about. But I actually went over I'm on Jalen Hurts this week. I went Jalen Hurts over 253.5 combined rushing and passing yards. 253.5 is that number. I'm confident in Jalen Hurts. I think whatever way you think this game's going to go, whether you think it's the Eagles get blown out, there's going to be garbage time for him. He's going to run the ball. I think 253 is a very sustainable number for Jalen Hurts. But even if it's a competitive game and the Eagles even come out on top somehow, Jalen Hurts is going to have to put the team on his back. So I know they're a run-heavy team, Connor, and that's what you're probably going to tell me right now.
I'm just looking for. So you said it's 235?
253.
253. I will say this: that as a general statement, he really doesn't get to that number very frequently with the combined.
Right.
Like as I'm looking at it, and I think Tampa Bay, though a little overrated in some regard, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk, and for him to put up a number that is significantly higher than what he averages, I'd probably lean under on that one.
I think that's like the little bit of Jalen Hurts truther in me. I honestly I really respect this kid. I think he's going to show up today and show why he should be the Eagles franchise quarterback moving forward. That's just me. Though. I do have a little Hurts bias, so I appreciate you calling that out on me.
Hey, bro, and I like the story. I like the narrative. I want to see him do well. I like the guy. I like the play style. Like I like everything about it.
Yeah.
But realistically, I think that those are numbers that we'll see more consistently out of Hurts if he gets the job and he stays put next season. I think we just see him to keep growing. But I'd say going against Tampa Bay, I think that's a high number.
Yeah, veteran team for sure. Connor, do you like the number Josh Allen 287.5 combined total yards? I personally I know the weather's not going to be great up there in Buffalo. They always pick the worst game time for the Buffalo games too. How about it when it's going to be as cold as it can be?
It's a -5 is the projection now for the temperature.
That is crazy. I just think he gets it done, man. Like Josh Allen, he has probably the most to prove, if not anyone, or the most to gain this postseason if he can make a run at the Super Bowl. Buffalo is my Super Bowl prediction. I think they have the defense to match the offense. I think Josh Allen, he's going to be cold as hell doing it, but I think he's gonna get there.
Yeah, I agree with you too. Especially with the combined. I like him to be on the ground a lot this week. And you and I kind of were going back and forth a little bit about me kind of devaluing Singletary because of that. But I also think that Josh Allen's going to air it out. I think that this is a team that has demonstrated they love to run the score up. They got the eye of the tiger. I think Josh Allen, kind of to your point, I think has got some stuff to prove, and I don't think he's going to feel that temperature one bit. I think he's going to go out and wreck shop.
Yeah, normally in the playoffs, going up against a Bill Belichick defense, I would be a little more worried. But Josh Allen is one of those cats. I mean, I don't game plan for the NFL, so what do I know? But I don't know how you game plan for this kid because he is just different. Like he is more versatile, in my opinion, than Patrick Mahomes a lot of the time. Just the way he can get out of the pocket and put his head down and run with it. I don't know. I just haven't seen a player like him in a really long time in this league.
And I think Josh Allen, and this is not a knock on Patrick Mahomes, but I think Josh Allen in a lot of ways has just got better field IQ. Like you watch him play and he takes less risk.
Yeah.
He takes enough of his own, but he doesn't do a lot of the goofy shovel pass, underhand, no look stuff that Patrick Mahomes tries to pull off. And I think for that reason, as far as DFS purposes or as far as prop betting purposes are concerned, you get a more consistent result out of Josh Allen. And if you look at it statistically over the season, that's not just me speculating. I mean, that is pretty evident that Josh Allen is the more consistent as far as results go. As far as the game scripting stuff goes, though, I really don't see having a repeat of them meeting earlier this year where, you got a Mac Jones throwing 3 passes.
Yeah.
I think Buffalo's not going to get embarrassed that way again. And it's going to force New England to throw the ball. And quite frankly, Mac Jones to me is not the guy for that job. I like him, but he's demonstrated an inability to be in a high volume passing situation. And all that being said, I like the ball to be in Josh Allen's hands a lot. And I like I said, Buffalo demonstrates they like to run it up. So,
yeah. The last one here, another quarterback yardage total. I like Burrow over 265.5. I know that's right around average for him, but I just this is a game I want to be a part of. I don't know if it's just the thrill of the Raiders being on a hot streak and Burrow just being amazing over the last month, but I want to be a part of this game. I think with the caliber of weapons, Oakland secondary has really been banged up all season long. They did get taken advantage of by Justin Herbert last week. If Herbert's receivers could catch the ball a little more consistently, the Steelers might not be in the playoffs or the Chargers are in it by any means. But overall, I think Burrow 265.5. I know it's average, but I think it's an easy smash up.
Yeah, and I actually got the number on Burrow a little bit lower over on MKF. I got it at 263.5, and
okay.
I'm on the over for that one too. And we're talking about a yard, 2 yards. So
yeah.
I'm with you. The only thing that is scaring me a little bit about this game is if Vegas is smart and they go run heavy with Jacobs to keep Burrow off the field, then I start to see this being a problem for all aspects of what we're talking about today, as far as DFS goes, as far as props go. Because I do think Jacobs has the potential to be pretty successful on the ground against Cincinnati. So if they're smart and they game plan it that way, and it's a slower paced game and all those things, which are a possibility, then a lot of the numbers I have with Burrow, Chase, Mixon, all that stuff, they get real scary. So, but I am with you. I tend to lean more that this is a shootout. This is a faster pace, a fun game to watch, which I think is what everybody's hoping for. So I'm gonna bet on a lot of overs here, just because I want it to be that. I'm gonna wish it into being.
Yeah. If we wish it, it will come. That's gonna be my mantra here heading into the weekend. So those are my 5 picks. I'm taking those QB overs: Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. I'm betting on these young QBs. And then Leonard Fournette, if he's healthy, I think he's going to get in the end zone. And then Cam Akers, he is my one under here. I just don't see it yet. I mean, great story for him. For him to even be playing right now is absolutely insane. Like, I just can't even. I still can't even wrap my brain around it.
No, me either. And arguably it's too fast, but I'm with you. I just don't think it's this weekend that he gets back in full swing. So I think that one's solid. The only one that, like I said, the only one I'd be a little leery of is probably your Hurts one. But hey, here's hoping that he blows up, because I'd like to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Conor, let's go ahead and move forward into our next segment, bringing a knife to a gunfight. Bringing a knife to a gunfight, sponsored by our friends over at Monkey Knife Fight. Guys, we've been playing it all season long. We want you to get involved as well. They have NFL, a lot of NFL games you can play, a lot of different games that we have over here at In Between Media that we're covering. NASCAR is coming back here in just a couple of weeks. I know some PGA stuff's going on that Conor's been getting involved with over there as well already. So, guys, take advantage of this while you can. It's a great offer here. Free $5 game and 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Use that promo code IBT, guys. Hit that. Smart economics. Conor, take it over here, man. What are you playing over here on Monkey Knife Fight, and how should we be approaching this Super Wildcard weekend as it applies to MKF?
Yeah, so per normal with MKF, I'm doing a lot of rapid fires, which are their head-to-heads, and I think that that's one thing that probably gets lost in the shuffle a lot of times with Monkey Knife Fight is if you don't have full-on legal sports gambling in your state, Monkey Knife is one of the few places that you can do head-to-head player props. So that's why I always hammer it. I think it's a spot where you have an edge too. You're not having to rely on an over/under so much.
Yeah.
So. Like I said, keeping with that theme, the one we're going to focus on is a four-legger in the Vegas-Cincinnati game. But I did want to point out, too, Monkey Knife does a 500x 10-legger every week. And I'm not saying bet the farm on that, but in a small slate like this, they're offering the early slate. So you can do a 10-leg on just two of the games.
Okay.
For 500x your money. So I would take a look at that. Bo and I are huge proponents of throwing a couple bucks into those because, hell, if you get lucky and hit $2,500 off $5 sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, it does.
But getting into the game that I looked at, a little bit different than Underdog. Monkey Knife gives you your bets, and you pick A or B. So a lot of these were pretty tough sledding. Like I said, looking at the Vegas-Cincinnati game, because I think that's the one that has the possibility to be the highest scoring. I've got Joe Burrow over Derek Carr passing yards, and they are giving Derek Carr 18.5, which if it shoots out, that's pretty scary. But just looking at the averages between Burrow and Carr for the year, Burrow's averaging about 263.5. Most of the lines I'm seeing set for Carr, and I think these are high to begin with, but most of the lines I'm seeing being set are 245.5. So that being said, we're already thinking that this is a wash, right? They're giving him just the difference in where the lines are spread. So essentially, if you're reading between the lines, they're saying this is a pick 'em.
Right.
And I'm going to take Burrow to outperform.
I agree with you here. I mean, Derek Carr is I don't know if I have a bias against Derek Carr. It's hard to trust him sometimes. I especially have felt that way in redraft the last few seasons. I've wanted no part of Derek Carr just because of the inconsistency. Here, I could see him showing up to this game. He's been on a hot streak, but to go up against Joe Burrow off a week's rest, I don't think people realize how important that last week was for him and these guys to get right. And just the quality of weapons. Like at the end of the day, you have Darren Waller, who's maybe not at 100% still. Hunter Renfrow, absolute stud. We love Hunter Renfrow here at IBT, and Zay Jones. But it's those three against Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Uzama, and Mixon, who just a more explosive team. I think this, we could be wrong on this, but I would be really impressed if the Raiders somehow got through this. I'm taking the Bengals in the game, so I have to take the Bengals moving forward, and really all the bets considering versus in this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think it would be neat to see Vegas win. I just don't see a path of that happening. I think it's going to be a competitive game, but I think at the end of the day, the explosiveness of the Cincinnati offense, and to your point, just the sheer level of the talent. It's not that Vegas doesn't have weapons, because they do, but if you went player by player, head to head, going down the line, I'm going to take the Cincinnati side on almost every position. So.
And the Bengals defense has been much more consistent. The Raiders have gotten on a lot of shootouts. They've won a lot of close games at the end. But I think at the end of the day, the Bengals defense, they're up front. Their front four is great. I mean, they've really rebuilt that defensive line. So, yeah, I'm trusting that. I'm trusting the Bengals defense. I'm trusting Burrow's arm.
Yes, sir. Moving on, within the same team here, I got Jamar Chase over Higgins. They're giving Higgins 5.5 receiving yards.
Okay.
So this is a weird one for me, because I think Chase is maybe gonna have less volume and probably less fantasy points at the end of the day. But from a strictly yard prop, I like Chase to get a couple of good grabs. The only thing that worries me is the defensive scheme for the Vegas Raiders is more conducive to kind of funneling it short into the middle, which when we get to DFS is why I like Tyler Boyd a lot this week. But as far as Higgins versus Chase, they're getting very similar volume. Chase is getting the deeper targets. I think Boyd is actually the volume play this week, but I think when you go
Agreed.
Chase to Higgins head to head, strictly on yardage, I think Chase has got I think his ADOT's 15 yards minimum. So I mean, you're just talking a higher chance that he gets a deeper target.
The other thing with the Raiders defense is we saw it on full display on Sunday night. They're not a great tackling defense. Mike Williams a couple of times blew past some players, broke some tackles, and it was a lot of those intermediate passes that I see Jamar Chase. We saw it in week 17, Jamar Chase take a 20-yard reception all the way to the house. So I think with that, you're going to have to bake in that I think Chase is at least going to have one or two big opportunities. Whether he cashes in on him or not, that's a different story. But I'm definitely riding Chase here. Higgins is a great player too, though. I mean, what a combo for the Bengals to have. But yeah, Chase easily here. I like that, Conor.
Next one, and this one actually was pretty hard. I got Mixon versus Jacobs rushing yards. They're giving Jacobs 16.5, and I went Mixon, and this is probably just biases from earlier in the season where he absolutely destroyed Vegas. But man, Vegas is not good against the run, and Mixon tore him up with little or no resistance. Yeah. And I do see the Bengals getting up at points in this game where they're going to lean on Mixon a little bit more until Vegas kind of rallies back, and then we'll rinse and repeat. So I just don't think that Jacobs is going to be able to really get going today. I think that Vegas is going to have to be a lot more pass oriented, and they're going to have to be to keep up. So I'm not as high on Mixon and Jacobs as the rest of the world is. Mm-hmm. I still like Mixon to outperform Jacobs.
What's the line? Is there a line at all?
It's just straight rushing props, and they're giving Jacobs 16.5 yards.
Oh man, I don't know. That one's a tough one. That one's a tough one for me. I'm not a Josh Jacobs fan, but the way he ran last week, he really kind of impressed me, especially down towards the end of that game. Man, I don't know. That's one personally I think I'd be a little more hands off, just because I just don't. There's so much volatility with these Bengals right now. We haven't ever seen this team in the playoffs. But it would make sense though, Conor, like from a strategic standpoint, for Zach Taylor to come out and pound the ball a little more than they normally do, just to mix some things up. They had success with it when they played the Raiders earlier in the season as well. I think it's your riskiest one so far, but I would, it's risky, but I think there's an argument to be made for Mixon.
Yeah, and really, the thing with Jacobs is when he gets it going, he's incredibly productive. But generally speaking, if you look back over his game log, this is not a guy that is consistently performing on a yards per carry basis.
Yeah.
And Mixon, I think, has shown explosiveness and at least somewhat more consistency, and he's going against a far inferior rushing defense. So I'm with you. It's scary, especially with the 16.5 yards. This is probably the one I'm least confident in. But
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is just a weird player. I mean, he had a really if you had him from a fantasy manager point of view in this last season, I don't think you were incredibly happy until the end. He kind of turned it on. He didn't have a 100-yard rushing game until week 16. Isn't that pretty crazy to think about that? Like a guy who his rookie season seemed like he was going out at, every other week and getting 100 yards.
Well, God, I mean, the level of value he was getting in all of season-long drafts. I mean, I wasn't that pumped on him. Like I wasn't taking him many places, but I totally understand why people were.
Yeah, I played that out in 2020 and it didn't go well for me. So I knew in 2021 to stay away a little more. Conor, who else you got? You got any more for us?
Yep, we got our last one on the four-legger here. I've got Darren Waller over Hunter Renfrow on receptions. They're giving Waller 1.5 receptions. I actually like Zay Jones over Renfrow, and I like Waller over both of them. So
okay,
I given Waller what essentially equates to 2 receptions. The guy's getting the volume, 100% or not. He catches the ball. The targets are there. Like, we don't care what he does after the fact. We don't care if he gets in the end zone on this. He just got to catch the ball.
He's a matchup nightmare for the Bengals. I will say that. He is a matchup nightmare for the Bengals. I'm still a little skeptical. He just did not look right last week. He did have an opportunity for a touchdown at one point, but I don't know. I'm a little more skeptical on Darren Waller by valid point for you there.
Yeah, and look at this though. I mean, if you need any more validation for the prop bet here, the Zay Jones volume didn't change one bit when Waller came back. Waller immediately got his 9 targets back, and the guy that it was Renfrow. Renfrow dropped from 9 to 5 over the course of 2 weeks. And again, Renfrow got it done fantasy-wise by getting a couple of touchdowns. But, dude, 2 touchdowns on 13 yards. I mean, he scored 17 points, and that's not the point of this prop. So I won't belabor it. But
no, I understand. And that is a very valid point. That's always kind of been the demise of Hunter Renfrow's fantasy value has been Darren Waller being the target hog in this offense. When he's gone, he's essentially, a lower tier Cooper Kupp getting so much volume and such a high target percentage. But no, I agree with you there. Waller being back definitely does affect the value, I think, a little more than I initially thought.
And that, my friend, is a way to throw $5 and win just a quick 50. So there you go. That's
there you go.
Easy one.
There we go. Easy one, guys. Head over to Monkey Knife Fight. Get on that parlay game. Guys, let's go into King of the Crop, non-officially presented by our friends over at DraftKings. Check it out.
You come at the king, you best not miss.
All right, Conor. I know we're pretty much DraftKings guys over here at In Between Media, but I was on a FanDuel show last night, so we might be switching loyalties here. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I can speak Spanish too. So this is kind of an odd slate, and the reason I say that, you and I were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show, and I know you're newer to DraftKings. I think this is a weekend where contest selection is probably pretty critical. And the reason I say that is the way they've got this split is you can either play the Saturday slate, you can play the Sunday slate, or you can play Saturday through Monday. Any way you cut this, the maximum amount of games that you're dealing with is 6 games.
Yeah.
And when you look at it that way, entering into these 150 entry contests where you've got guys that have literally every variation of the core plays built in with a lot of the dart throws, unless you got thousands to dump into this weekend to try and leverage your place in those contests, I would stick to single entry or even like a 3 max entry, something where you can get a little variety. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't go against the big boys this weekend, because more than likely, unless you got the nuts, you're going to get burnt and you're going to be left holding a $0 ticket. So, So that's probably the biggest thing. And I think one thing that is consistent for me with this slate is that I'm super heavy on Cincinnati and Las Vegas and mixing and matching that. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if I'm playing the single game slate, the 4-game slate, or the 6-game slate. It doesn't matter how you break it out. That's been consistent. And I was telling you, Seth, like, I really only changed a couple of players when I expanded out to the Monday game. So
agreed. Yeah.
So I think within that being said, I think there's a lot of chatter around that Derek Carr is going to be a good leverage play. And I really don't like it. And I don't like it because when you look at Derek Carr's fantasy production, he has an innate ability to underproduce fantasy points and overproduce real world results.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the inverse of what normally happens in the DFS community. Normally we get super hype about a guy who's not that great, but scores you a ton of points, i.e. Jameis Winston,
Yeah. Yeah.
So my advice would be, throw a couple of darts at Derek Carr stacks. But if you really want to get a piece of this game, I think Joe Burrow, even though he's probably the obviously better player, I think Joe Burrow does really present the highest upside of the quarterbacks on this slate.
I 100% agree. I have a lot of lineups set right now, and Joe Burrow's in a majority of them. I like Derek Carr, man. I think he's a solid quarterback. I put out a tweet earlier this week, like, Derek Carr is a good NFL quarterback. He's not a good fantasy quarterback. Don't get it twisted. And, I think that just carries on forward here. Burrow could bust. There's a chance that happens. But if you're going for pure upside, hit like a Jamar Chase and a Joe Burrow stack, it just makes sense. Like, I'm willing to pay up for that. You're probably about 15,000 deep after playing that stack, but I'm willing to go that far.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, like I said in the MKF segment, like, I actually like Burrow Boyd. Like, I don't feel like that's that big a stretch, and it saves you some coin. Where you can stack some other spots.
I have a lineup where I have Chase, Burrow, and Boyd. Are you against that?
Nope, I have one of those too. And I have in that same lineup, I actually have been going back and forth on whether I want to roll out Mixon with them too, like just go really Bengals heavy.
Okay.
And I think, again, this is going back to what I said. Just as far as safety or talent, or I guess more easily projectable result, I guess it's the best way to put it. I trust these Bengals offense more probably than the rest of the slate, with the exception of maybe Cooper Kupp.
Honestly, Conor, when looking at all the different ways you can play this slate in DraftKings this week, I think I had the most fun building lineups for the Saturday only slate with just the Bengals, Raiders, and the Patriots, Bills. Like, I think that's a really good slate. You have a couple leverage plays like Hunter Henry at tight end, who could be valuable, 4,500. Devin Singletary, to me, 5,800. I'm rolling with that still. Zay Jones, 4,000. Again, I mean, we've been riding Zay Jones here at IBT like the last month and a half of the season. Like, I feel like at the end of every show, like, you or Bo are just like, hey, don't forget about Zay Jones this week, and it always pays off.
Yeah, man, I wish Treadwell was playing this week.
How about it? We've been Ryan Treadwell too, yeah.
Like, we had two good performing receivers over the last 4 weeks that you could pay a total of $7,000 to have on your roster. It was fantastic. No, I'm with you. I have Zay Jones in almost every lineup, and for reasons I already brought up. With Waller coming back, we saw next to no dip in his target share. He's really carving out a nice niche for himself. I like Zay Jones, and at $4,000,
he's a good player. Like let's not forget, this guy he led all college football with the highest single season for receptions and overall highest receptions for a career in college football Division I. So Zay Jones isn't a slouch. He kind of just got out of favor in a bad Buffalo team way before they had Josh Allen, and then was kind of just buried on the depth chart for the Raiders. So, I mean, 4,000 for him, that is one of the best leverage wide receivers, I think, on this entire slate this weekend.
Yeah, and I do think he ends up being probably a little chalkier just because of the price point on him.
Yeah.
But that's why I kind of like stacking him with Tyler Boyd too, because I think Tyler Boyd is, again, maybe not the sexiest piece of the Cincinnati offense, but I really do think he's going to be the volume play this week. And then to your point, like so one of the lineups I'm working on as we speak, I have Darren Waller at tight end, and then I have Hunter Henry in my flex, and you can flip that however you want.
Yeah.
But this is another week where I kind of like the double tight end stack, and I've got some Dalton Schultz mixed in, like on the longer slate. So don't be afraid to do that. And I do think Hunter Henry is a good play because, like I said, I think Mac Jones is going to have to throw the ball. And as we've kind of come to find out, Mac Jones ain't great at throwing the ball necessarily. So I think Hunter Henry gives him a good option to shorter depth.
Yeah, I think this playoffs really is starting to represent how valuable the tight end position is for teams in the league. Just, across the board, all the teams with pretty good tight ends outside the Ravens are in the playoffs, and that's due to injuries, really. Conor, I want to shift to the quarterback position here. Like, outside of Derek Carr and Joe Burrow, are there any other quarterback plays on the weekend you're looking at paying the price for?
So I know I kind of dogged you for it. I do have a little bit of Jalen Hurts, and I do have a little bit of Jalen Hurts because I think that the perception is going to be similar to what mine was. And I wish Bo was on because Bo could tell us ownership a hell of a lot better. But I would guess that Jalen Hurts ends up being the more forgotten quarterback on this slate. And I think it's because people are going to read into it the way that I did in terms of Tampa Bay just being a superior team in that matchup. But I do like Jalen Hurts. And I'm not 100% in yet. I'm trying to do my best job of talking myself into it, but I kind of like Dak Prescott. I like the bounce back last week. I think it's going to be high volume. I think it's at home. I really like Dak and Amari Cooper, and I think that that's a stack that probably a lot of people aren't going to do. I think it's going to be a lot of CeeDee Lamb. I think it's going to be a lot of using Zeke because maybe you feel that Zeke's going to be a consistent performer, even though he typically is not.
Do you have any interest in Tom Brady at all? I mean, like his receiving options are kind of fairly priced this week. Mike Evans set 7,000, Gronk 6,400. Like it's not bad for if you want to go with a Tampa Bay stack either.
Yeah, there's two reasons I don't love Brady in DFS, or I don't love Brady for stacking in DFS. Brady does produce over 20 points fairly often, but I don't ever know who to stack with.
Right.
So in terms of getting a correlation, I think Brady is maybe the toughest QB in the NFL right now to get a solid correlation with, outside of maybe Russell Wilson whenever he decides to throw the ball correctly. Don't know where that one's going either. But the other thing, though, that scares me about Tom Brady this week, and we've kind of hammered this to death, is if Leonard Fournette has a Leonard Fournette type of day, that takes the ball out of Brady's hands.
Yeah.
Often. And I just... like I said, I mean, I could see the Eagles just underperforming to a point where it's just Lenny. And, you get Brady sub 20 points on the total. He'll score, but.
Yeah. Conor, let's move forward to that running back position a little bit. Are you intrigued by any of these RB options? We've talked about Leonard Fournette. We think he's a great play. Joe Mixon, you're probably going to have him in a couple lineups as well. I think a couple guys that a lot of people aren't talking about, Darrell Williams. It looks like he's going to play. CH is out of this one. Darrell Williams, 5,200 though. Like he's been a great leverage play the last couple weeks. And then I know you're not a huge fan of it, but Devin Singletary at 5,800. I think he's a solid play for that price as well. I don't know. I have Devin Singletary in a lot of lineups this week, man. I mean, he has been an absolute. It's been a barn burner for him. He's at a career month stretch here.
And I think that's the problem with Devin Singletary is, to your point, he's had a career month stretch. Prior to that, I mean, how many games did he even exceed 40, 50 rushing yards and get in the end zone? And that's kind of the problem. He's not involved with the pass game. And so for DraftKings, the more that I thought about this, the more it started to resonate with me. Like for Devin Singletary to outperform the people around him in price, he's got to get in the end zone a couple of times because he's not going to be in the passing game. He's probably not going to surpass 60-ish yards if he gets there. And so, I mean, the upside of Singletary to me this week is maybe 15 to 18 points. And
6 touchdowns in the last month, though.
I'm with you. Like I'm probably going to eat my words on this, but I see Josh Allen putting it on his back, and I see. Like I was telling you, hearing weird quotes this morning about him worrying about being able to tuck and control the football in his bare skin. Like that to me says that we're going to go pass first. And if I don't have the pass, I'm tucking and I'm running. So
yeah, great point.
So I'm going to be out on Singletary. I don't begrudge anybody for playing him. I get it. He has been on a tear, but that's going to be my fade. And I think that's actually going to be a big leverage play because I think that people are unsure of a lot of the other running backs in this slate. The big one, if you're playing all the way through the Saturday, Sunday slate, or if you're just playing the Sunday slate, I'm going right back to Eli Mitchell again.
Yeah.
I like Eli Mitchell. I like him even better in this situation. He's not been under 20 touches pretty much since week 9. Even coming back, he was instantly 21 touches week 17, 21 touches week 18.
It's incredible. It is incredible.
For an offense that typically over the last few years has been this running back by committee situation, they really have planted their flag. Like this is their dude. And man, he balls out. Even though he didn't get the value last week, the guy still had, 85 yards. It wasn't like nothing burgered you. He was moving the ball.
Elijah Mitchell, he missed 5 games this season, and he almost cracked 1,000 rushing yards. Like, if this guy was healthy all season long, he might have been in that 1,500 yard rushing department. I mean, just stellar. 85 yards, 119 yards the last 2 weeks coming back from injury. If they want to move forward, it's going to be on the back of Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I like Deebo too, but and here's the thing with Eli Mitchell too is at $5,500. Like if you look at the guys around him, I mean, dude, they had CEH priced higher.
Yeah,
than Eli Mitchell.
Yeah,
explain that to me.
Yeah,
Ronald Jones priced higher than Eli Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it.
Are you worried at all that he could be a popular play though because the price is so attractive?
I think he is going to be a popular play. I definitely think that people are going to sharper DFS players. I think the thing is going to be, I think people are going to see Singletary over the last month. I think they're going to click him at 5,700, $200 more. I think people that look at the numbers and look at the touch volume are going to be on Eli. And that's where that's the hill I'm dying on this week. I like Eli Mitchell over Devin Singletary for $200 cheaper. So
any Zeke this week for you? It's a pretty solid price for him this week. We've seen a lot worse, 6,100. I don't know. I have Zeke in one lineup, but I'm not like aggressively going after him. But I think he's fairly priced.
For the whole slate, though, would you rather play Zeke or would you rather play James Conner if he goes?
Probably James Conner just because of the touchdown upside, but I think Zeke's at least a lock to get you. Like he's not going to burn you. He's not going to lose you the week, but his upside's probably capped at 21 points maybe. But I think his floor is probably 12, 13 in this game.
And that's the part that worries me is like 12, 13 at $6,100. Like I really feel like whoever you plug in at running back, you need to be somewhere between 18 to 20 as a floor.
Yeah.
And I know we're waxing semantics here with 2.5, 3 points, but at the end of the day, on kind of a crapshoot slate like this where we just don't know what the game flows are going to be in any of the games, I mean that 3 points could be the difference between $10,000 and $5.
Yeah, he hasn't been over 10 PPR points in the last 2 weeks too. I mean, maybe they're resting him a little bit, but we'll see what happens here with Zeke. Conor, as far as wide receiver plays, we haven't really dove in too deeply outside of Jamar Chase, Zay Jones, and Hunter Renfrow. Who are some other wide receivers you're looking at?
So if you're playing the entire series of games, Cooper Kupp, obviously, we probably don't even need to talk about that. The guy is an absolute beast, and I don't see that changing against Arizona. So if you are playing the full thing, $9,000, fully worth the
$9,000. That's the issue. It is $9,000. You have to you're committing at that point.
You are, but you can balance that out with guys we just talked about. The Eli Mitchells of the world, 5,500.
Zay Jones.
Zay Jones.
Yeah.
And Zay Jones and Tyler Johnson, believe it or not, are the two that are in almost every single one of my lineups. Zay Jones at 4,200, Tyler Johnson at $4,000. I like the usage. I like the consistency in the usage. And really, I like the matchups. I mean, those guys and at those prices allow you to really stack top heavy on QB. and at tight end, where we've already talked about, I think you're going to have the right tight end this week, because I think one of them is going to be potentially one of the highest scorers in the field.
I will say I am a little worried about Mike Evans this week. Darius Slay is going up against him. Darius Slay has been a matchup nightmare this season. I've been a Tyler Johnson guy since his receiving days at Minnesota a couple of years ago. I've loved the kid. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that one big game. Could this be it? If there's a time for him to step up, it's now. First round of the playoffs. No AB, no Chris Godwin. The number one wide receiver shadowed by Darius Slay. I think it's the time for Tyler Johnson to step up. I am honestly like looking at my lineups now. I'm like, I should probably go back and actually, because I want to be a part of that if it happens. I want to be a part of that.
Well, and really, since Godwin's been down, I mean, Tyler Johnson's averaged about 6 targets a game, which is saying something in a Tampa Bay offense that likes to spread the ball around. So I think they want him to be that thing, and I think, to your point, I think this is his chance to do it, and I'm hoping that's what it is, because at $4,000, he's going to be lower owned. Gives you some ability to move some money around some other spots, or even within the wide receiver role. Like if you want to play Cooper Kupp, if you want to play Tyreek Hill, if you want to play Steph Diggs, which I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about either. It gives you the ability to do that. So I feel confident that Tyler Johnson's going to get you between 5 and 8 targets. You just hope he does something with it.
What about Cedric Wilson? 4,400 for Cedric Wilson. He's had great back-to-back games, over 30 PPR points last week, had a touchdown the week before, 3 over his last 2 games. I mean, he has been – we talked about him on Thanksgiving, Conor. That was the last time you and I have been on a show together, and we discussed just how interesting of a play he was on that slate, and he paid off. Like, does he pay off again here in the playoffs against the 49ers?
So I don't hate it. I don't know why this is. I just have this feeling that this is an Amari Cooper game. Amari Cooper plays well at home. It's go time. I just feel like it's an Amari game. And I feel like it could be that like nuclear Amari game that you get once a year. I love Wilson. I love the price. I think if you're gonna roll the dice and hope that we get the same Dak that we've seen kind of coming back for the last few weeks, I think I lean Cooper out of his receiving options.
Okay. The only other receiver I'm highly targeting in a lot of lineups is Deontay Johnson, 6,700. Pretty fair price for him. If the Steelers have any shot, Deontay Johnson has to come to play. As a Steelers fan, I'm very love-hate on Deontay Johnson. He makes some great plays, and then he makes some boneheaded drops. But at the end of the day, if they have a chance here against the Chiefs, it's going to be Deontay Johnson. We also think, we talked about it pre-show a little bit, but if the Steelers have a chance in this one, it's probably with Najee on the ground. We just haven't seen the offensive line be consistent in the run game. So I think Big Ben, he's going to have probably 40-plus attempts in this one once again, noodle arm or not. But, I mean, he showed up, man. Big Ben threw some of his best throws of the season last week with the game on the line. So I think Deontay Johnson, I have him here in a lot of DraftKings lineups, and I also have him in a lot of playoff fantasy lineups where you pick a new lineup each week, but you can only pick up someone once. So I think the Steelers probably get eliminated here. But
we're gonna have time at the end. I want you gotta.
Yeah. I'll go into that. Yeah, we have about 12 minutes.
All right, cool. I like your call on Deontay Johnson. The only thing that worries me is the guy is an absolute volume monster, and you just never get a return. I mean, he's always right in this like $6,500 to $7,500 range on DK, and dude, he just puts up like 9, 10, 12 points, and these are including touchdowns. So it's the only thing that I worry about, and this is just strictly a price comparison as you're shopping through building your lineup. $6,700. I think you have a potential to get more return out of somebody like Zay Jones, somebody like Tyler Johnson, and you're saving $2,700. I like Deontay Johnson. I like the volume. I like the chance that he's got massive upside. But if you look down his list of accomplishments this year, I mean, it's really only come to fruition about 3 times over the entire course of the season. And Kansas City's defense has looked better. I don't rule out the possibility of the Steelers being able to actually win this game, but Kansas City really has taken some strides, moved the ball, or advance themselves forward defensively towards the tail end of the season. And so I think it's a Najee Harris or bust type of situation. I think Najee is the best option for the Steelers to tear up Kansas, and we'll see.
Are there any other, before we wrap up our DraftKings discussion, Connor, are there any other of these plays that you like this week, kind of in that middle 5,000 range? A couple that I'm attracted to in the places I am playing Jalen Hurts. I think Devonta Smith stack isn't the worst thing you could do for yourself. And Dalton Schultz at 5,000, once again, he's been on a heater lately, man. I think Dalton Schultz 5,000. There are a lot of places I want to play Gronk for that six some thousand, and Kelsey, I think it's 6,900 for him this week. But I am just not that confident in paying that money. So Dalton Schultz for 5,000, Devonta Smith 5,500. Do you like those plays at all, or do you have any other plays in that area you'd suggest, Connor?
I think for our dream to come to fruition with Jalen Hurts, I think Devonta Smith's got to be a play in your lineup. Yeah. And he's shown he has massive upside, so I don't hate that call. Amari Cooper is right in that range. Brandon Ayuk, I think, is an option too. He's quietly been consistent the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a good price on him in comparison to Debo. I've already hammered this a bunch. Tyler Boyd is down in that price range.
Yeah. Yep.
I think you can do a hell of a lot worse than
4,400, I think, for Tyler Boyd or something this week. 45.
What slate you're on? Yep.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I think AJ Green might be kind of a play this week.
How about it?
That's probably the one. And the only reason I say this is he had a massive uptick in volume last week. Arizona's probably gonna have to be zipping the ball around quite a bit, because I think the Rams are a better team at this point. Arizona was my pick to go to the Super Bowl preseason, but they just look abysmal. So
yeah, no, I like those plays. I think those are all solid. AJ Green, he's a fun one. He's a fun, kind of ride or die with AJ Green. I think we pretty much hit most of the plays I'm playing. Any defensive advice here? Like when I look at the slate, the Bills are obviously the most attractive against Mac Jones and the Patriots to me. I don't mind the Patriots also kind of in the cold weather a little bit if you have to pay down for a defense. Those have been the ones I've attacked all week. I don't know about you, Connor.
So I do this every once in a while where I kind of get on the hill of defense doesn't matter. And I just take the dead min defense and hope that they finish at dead zero so that I can pay up for other spots. I have a lot of that this week. I am by no means suggesting that everybody else do that, but that is my tactic on some of these lineups. As far as playing a defense that I think is going to overperform, I think that's probably Buffalo. If you're going to pay up for somebody, I like Buffalo. I like they're gonna plan around stopping the run. I don't think Mac Jones is that good. The cold weather, I think all those things kind of lead me towards Buffalo.
Okay. Connor, any final DraftKings advice for our listeners here? We are going to talk a little bit about fantasy postseason and some of these other playoff formats that you can get into, but any other final DraftKings advice for Super Wildcard Weekend?
Yeah, make yourself uncomfortable. Like this is a short player pool. You're going to have to do some weird stuff to get leverage on the field. Even plays that you think are leverage probably aren't. So look a little 3-4 down the depth chart when you're going through DraftKings. Maybe pick some oddballs. Yeah. Don't overspend. Like I said, don't get yourself into GPP because you're going to get massacred. Play single entries, play within your means, win some money.
Great advice. Thank you, Connor, as always, for your advice on DraftKings, man. Guys, I want to talk a little bit about some other alternatives we do have this weekend for fantasy playoffs. And I want to start with fantasy postseason. They're not a sponsor by any means. I've just started playing on them the last couple of years, but they are a lot of fun to play on. Basically, what you do here, you get in a league. I'm in a league right now with actually a group from a brewery down in Hershey, PA, Trogs Brewery. Great brewery down there. And they invite me into their league. Last year was my first time. I got second. But basically what you do in this is it's one of those leagues that each week you set a lineup, kind of like a DraftKings lineup, but you can only pick those players one time for the entire postseason. So in the earlier weeks here, you really want to target players that you don't think their team is going to advance very far. I have Jalen Hurts in as my QB, Najee Harris is my RB, a lot of Deontay Johnson, George Kittle. I'm taking the 49ers. Just like you want to take the underdogs a lot of the time. I'm not trying to play Packers, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, the teams that you actually expect to make it farther, Buffalo. I'm not playing any of those this week. So I think it's a really unique platform. Conor, have you ever heard of anything like this or ever done anything like this?
We've got a similar like friends and family pool, but it's not like the one and done style like you're talking about.
Okay.
I mean, it's similar, so I get it, and it sounds intriguing. Like next year, I want to do it with you. You got to get
Yeah, I'll get you in. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a different way to play it. Champions Round also has kind of a cool thing going on right now. Our friend Dan Turner, he's a content provider for them over there, and I'm doing something with him that you actually get to like draft a team for the fantasy playoffs, and just like, a serpentine 12, 10, 6, whatever team person draft you want to do. And then you draft your team. And that's a lot of fun too. It's kind of a different way to go about it. It's kind of cool to see how people are evaluating, like who's the 101 in this compared to, what it was at the beginning of the season. It's just a fun way to look at it.
No, that's really cool. We should look at maybe trying to set up some kind of an office league or something and get some listeners and all that stuff involved, because both of those sound like fun formats.
That's definitely a great idea. Conor always coming in with the great idea. Guys, if you're tuning in to the DFS Tailgate today, the easiest way you can support this show, all the shows we do here in between media, the website, the columns, the consistent content we have coming your guys' way, is to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Hit a like, hit that plus up button as well on this video if you enjoyed this. If you guys want more DFS content, here in just about 3 minutes, you can actually head over to Club Fantasy FFL's YouTube page. They have their DFS and Chill show with Kyra and Ryan. If I don't listen to you guys, they're some of my favorite in this industry listening to DFS advice. So highly recommend you head over there as well.
Now that you listen to Seth and I with our educated guesses, go listen to some good picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Conor, a pleasure as always, man.
Yes,
happy Saturday to you, man. Cheers to the first weekend of the football playoffs, man. Always a pleasure. Thank you, everyone who tuned in this week. We'll be back here throughout the playoffs, so make sure you check in. Conor, I think we'll probably make this a regular thing Saturday noon then.
Yes, sir. I'm in. My boy with the beer. It's nice to be drinking with somebody in this show for once.
Absolutely. Let's go, baby. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. Keep it in between until next weekend. And head over to Club Fantasy FFL's DFS and Chill, kicking off in just 2 minutes. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Cheers.
Good luck.